Our question now, would you know how to treat someone who has been bitten by a snake? Alarmingly, in Australia, more than half of the deaths caused by snake bites have happened in or around the victim's home.
But it's even worse in the developing world, as being shown in a film screened in Melbourne later this week.
Most victims of snakebite are amongst the most impoverished levels of the community.
I'm only asking God and wonder why this had to happen.
It's a cobra.
Okay, so the people raising their arms have been bitten by snake.
This is the reason why people get bitten by snakes all the time. Bare feet.
Snakebite is the most neglected of all the so-called neglected tropical diseases.
It's absolutely incredible. Dr. David Williams is the head of the Australian Venom Research Unit at the University of Melbourne and chair of the World Health Organisation Working Group. He joins us in the studio and he's got some guests with him.
I have.
Hello, David.
Hello, David. I'm just going to
very distracted for
way.
You go nowhere. You come and sit right next to me. Okay.
So who you got there?
Do you want to just...
Well, there's nothing to fear. This is a black-headed python, so this is non-venomous, and it's actually a snake that's native to the drier parts of northern Australia. And believe it or not, it actually eats other snakes, including venomous snakes.
Okay.
So he's one of the good guys.
So he's one of the good guys. Unlike my friend down here on the floor, this is actually a speckled brown snake.
Right.
Oh,
This is one of the group of snakes that are responsible for more than half of the deaths from snakebite in Australia every year.
Okay, now there is a lock on that box there.
Yeah, there is.
I'm
So,
just checking.
So we're very fortunate in Australia. The reality is that we're experts at treating snakebite. We have about 300, 400 people get bitten a year. Maybe one person might be unfortunate enough to die. But in the developing world, it's vastly different.
You've done a lot of work in the developing world. In fact, a lot of our audience would recall you from a foreign correspondent episode about 10 years ago, where sadly, as part of that, you were bitten by a venomous snake, a reflection of the relative lack of medical facilities and quick care in PNG, and we're showing pictures of the attack now, and other developing countries.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this is the reality. So around the world, anywhere up to 138,000 people a year die from snakebite. Now, that's about a quarter of the number that die of malaria every year. Yeah. And if you compare it to Ebola, we've had a couple of really big outbreaks of Ebola in Africa in recent years. But the total number of Ebola deaths was about 11,800. That's the number of people who die of snakebite every month.
But isn't that incredible? Because it's not something that we really talk about. It's a figure that many people wouldn't know, and I guess that's a part of the awareness you're trying to raise.
Exactly.
It's Michael's moving away from me. So I'm trying to
Stay there, buddy.
So you were saying how in Australia we're able to treat a snake bite. 400 people get bitten, but very few die from it. What's the difference? Why is it in developing countries that they're not able to deal with this issue?
So they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the medical facilities, but also often they don't have the antivenoms, the medicines that are necessary to treat people who've been bitten. And of course, we've been doing that in this country very well for over 100 years. And it's that expertise that we're now trying to impart to other countries around the world to help them solve these sorts of problems. And snakebite was added to the neglected tropical diseases list by the World Health Organisation last year. And we're now working with WHO to develop a roadmap, a strategy for actually tackling the problem so that we can actually raise awareness and help some of these people to survive these encounters.
So with the strategy in place, you're quite confident if the right amount of resources and attention was placed on it, that a really high death rate could reduce over
Exactly.
time.
Look, this is the thing. I mean, we've been very successful at dealing with other neglected tropical diseases and other infectious diseases, like I said, malaria, for example. But the reality is that there's nothing being put into dealing with the snakebite epidemic at the moment.
What do you do if you're bitten by a snake?
So if you're bitten by a snake in this country, the best advice is to call an ambulance immediately, to apply first aid, which means to immobilise the person, to apply direct pressure over the bitten part of the limb with a compression bandage, and then leave the doctors to do their work.
Okay, David. On a more personal note, I mean, as we showed the footage earlier, you have been bitten by snakes.
Unfortunately.
Why? What do you love so much about these animals? I mean,
Look,
you keep going back.
I've always been fascinated by them. I was a country kid. I grew up in Corinda in northern New South Wales.
Yep.
And from the age of about 5, I've been playing with snakes, and it's all I basically ever was interested in doing.
Yeah.
So what should the people in the country, of course, are pretty much aware of where snakes live and the dangers. So what advice have you got for people? They do end up in suburban backyards as well.
Surprisingly.
Where do you keep an eye out for?
So you need to keep an eye out anywhere where you've got rubbish, long grass, but even homes. If you leave a door open or a window open, snakes will come in. And the important thing if that happens is that you call somebody who knows what they're doing to help remove the animal and not try and do it yourself, because unfortunately this is the problem we have, is that a lot of people in Australia are bitten trying to catch or kill the snake.
Okay.
Right.
Stay away.
Exactly.
Now, Del has been dying to have a handle of a snake.
How about...
I wouldn't mind, actually.
I'll give you...
Don't move away from me.
It's all yours.
I'll give you the back end. Just touch it. It's like a glow mesh handbag.
Okay, you've got the head?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, Michael, come on. You don't want
listen, I'll look forward to your extensive report on
as long
it,
as...
Del.
Oh, wow.
It's quite remarkable.
And is it a he? Is heavy.
This one is probably a she.
Oh, she's heavy.
Yes, she's all
I don't want
yours.
to hold a solo. No.
No.
I'm not doing this by myself. This is like teamwork.
I'm quite
right
happy here, thank you.
Can we?
As you were.
Wow,
Yep.
wow.
So just put your hand under her body and support her body.
Talk to me about her. She's I don't.
So pythons
As long
are
as you hold the head,
constrictors.
yeah.
Yep. And
Going well.
That's my
so
job.
they have no venom apparatus or anything like that. They can still bite. But
Okay.
it's just a lot of teeth.
Right. Well, that's
Now you tell her.
that's reassuring.
But they squeeze. Ooh.
They
think I
do.
just
So they're
lost her.
constrictors.
They constrictors.
Yeah,
so
What would make an animal like this bite you? Or
well,
what would
these
happen?
snakes tend to be very placid.
I feel like I've got her all to myself
You do.
now.
no,
It's all
you're doing a
yours.
fantastic job, Del.
But realistically, if she feels
I
comfortable
don't know where
and
the
not stressed,
snake is going.
just relax.
Okay, yeah.
If she feels comfortable and she's not being threatened, she's just
Cool.
going to explore the environment
Right.
around her.
Just going down. Can you... Michael, thank you for your support.
That's okay. I'm quite happy over
That's about
here.
as close as I'm ever getting to a snake.
There you go.
But no, in all honesty, I mean, if you do encounter any animals like this,
The best thing to do is
thing
they're
to do
wild
leave to the
animals.
experts.
Leave
Yeah.
them alone. Call
Yeah.
an expert, and make sure that children are aware that if they see a snake in and around a home, that they come and tell an adult and don't try to do anything with it themselves. And the interesting reality is we've done research in Australia, and the majority of snake bites don't happen in rural areas.
Yep.
They happen in urban Australia,
Right.
in the outer suburbs of Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, and so on.
And especially in the last summer that was gone, we saw a real spike in the number of
Exactly.
snake bites as well. So it really is something to look out for.
Yep, precisely.
Well, congratulations on the fantastic work you're doing, David, at the Uni of Melbourne and the World Health
No worries.
Organisation.
Yep,
And,
well, we have a
thanks for
film
joining us.
tomorrow.
Yes.
If anyone wants to come along, they can just go to avru.org, avru.org, and they can register to come and see the film, and it tells the story of snakebite in the developing world and why we need to do something about it.
Fantastic.
She's a beautiful animal.
She is beautiful
Gorgeous.
at a distance.
Gorgeous to hold her as well.
You
Thank
deserve a badge of courage, my friend, for that.
You've done great.
Yes, you
You
have.
really did.
Thank you, David.
Thank you so much.
No worries, it's a pleasure.